Andur comes into a packed courtroom in chains. Helda stands on the side with Alastair next to her. King Eldon stands in front of the throne, with Jarun and Rosargo Davin on each side. Even with the amount of people, the room would stay dead silent. He would look over at Helda and give her an optimistic smile in contrast to her tears and sorrow. King Eldon takes a few steps towards Andur and takes some time to look at him before he musters the courage to speak.
Andur Highwind, is this your blade?
Rosargo carries the blade that pierced Jarun, with bloodstains still visible. Helda stops before shouting,
Olvar took the blade and killed Jarun, not Andur.
King Eldon raises a hand to silence her, and she quickly steps back. Andur indicates with his shackled arms for her to calm down. Rosargo steps back with the blade as Eldon turns his attention back to Andur.
And who let him into the mountain to use that blade?
I did.
The room lets out a gasp, but Eldon keeps staring with anger and heartbreak at his son.
I thought I could lift my wife's spirits by uniting her with an old friend. A wish I thought Olvar shared. However, I was wrong. And I accept my part in the murder of my uncle.
Helda holds Alastair close and cries, turning away. The king, in tears, attempts to speak.
You leave me no choice. I will not sentence you to death, as our family has already seen enough of it. You will instead be banished from our kingdom, never to return. There will be no goodbye, but the one you will give now. Say your piece, and be on your way, my son.
Andur looks shaken over at Helda and simply mouths the words, I'm sorry. And then he looks over at his father.
I cannot repay what has been taken. I tried to fix something that was out of my control, and I will suffer for it. All I ask is my son and wife to not be judged for my actions. And Father, you did not fail me. I failed you.
Eldon goes back and sits down on his throne, his energy having left him. Waving his hand to take him away while covering his face with the other, Rosargo and Loran walk over with the other guards. He mouths over to Helda again, It will be okay. Just before he's dragged out, he's thrown into the mud at the gates with the blade that killed Jarun. The gates slowly close, and without a word spoken to the banished prince, he picks himself up slowly and looks at his former home.
They will be fine.
He picks up his sword and begins to walk away from Cantrock into the Burma jungle. During his banishment in the jungle, he would build a small camp to the north and adapt to his new life. He would keep an eye out of the settlement from the northerners over the years, watching as they built up a kingdom from their own, naming it Drakkar. Citizens to this new kingdom would hear stories of the banished prince. Some would say the jungle made him mad and beast-like, while others saw him as their protector from the beasts within it. Olvar would keep within the walls, expecting Andur to kill him on sight. It was not the only thing in his mind, as he was not done with his revenge on Cantrock. As proclaimed war chief to the northerners, Olvar had his people build him a fleet of strong ships to take Cantrock from over the seas. One day, Andur was climbing the mountains that overlooked the kingdom to find some of the rare eggs that he found a liking to. He would see the fleet being constructed on the shores of Drakkar. He grabs the eggs and quickly makes his way down the mountain, for he will be the first time present himself to the gates of Drakkar.
I've come for you, Olvar.
Olvar steps onto the wall, looking down at him.
And this is not your home, Andur.
No. You took that from me, my home, and my family.
Trust me, I did a favor killing that monster of a man.
Have you taken the time to see what you've become?
Why have you come here?
I saw your fleet, and I'm here to tell you, stop whatever you're planning.
I do not answer you, you prince of nothing.
Your people are thriving and got all they'll ever need, Don't bring them into a war that will only bring them pain once more.
Oh, Andor, yet again your naivety blinds you. You think that they would just let us be? That they are not already mastering their forces to rid themselves of us once and for all? No, I will not sit idly by and let Kantrok step on us once again. I will crush them before they even get the chance!
Olvar says as he leaves the wall, leaving the guards targeting Andor with their bows.
It is time. We sail for Kantrok.
Olvar, don't do this.
Olvar steps onto his ship as his men remove the boarding planks. Andor has moved over the rocky shores next to the city to see the fleet sail south towards Kantrok. Back in Kantrok a week later, Bliss and Rosargo are walking towards the bridge of King's Rock on the mountain. A spot in the corner of their eye, the fleet of their northerners.
Go alert Loran while I go tell father.
Rosargo runs to alert the others while Bliss runs to the castle to warn her father, the king. Out to the sea, Olvar, keeping a fleet at a distance to avoid any catapult shots from the mountains. Rosargo gathered with his father and the army, about to board the ships to face them. In Drakkar, Andor decided to try to communicate with the citizens. He knocks on the gate and the guards bring him in. Chained to be careful, a lady comes forth to speak for her people.
My name is Jane Ias. I speak for Drakkar in Olvar's absence. He did not wish to see you, but I'm willing to listen. What do you want?
I have come to tell you not to follow Olvar any further.
Have you just come to waste my time? Then I might as well be done with you.
I will not leave, for he will lead you down the path of destruction. That's if he even makes it back.
Listen, he has always been the one to make sure we're okay, always fighting for us. You would ask us to betray him?
I'm asking you to not betray yourselves. You've got a good thing going here. Don't go asking for Kantrok to fight back. The only one who sought your misery was Jarun, and he's dead. Just let someone else lead who will focus on your future rather than revenge.
Are you suggesting that you'll lead in his place then?
If you wish it, I will do what I can to help you, as I have from the day I saw you swept onto our shores.
Jane takes a few of the elders with her to talk, while the guards hold on to Andor. Outside the cliffs of Kantrok, a brutal battle at sea is going on. The Northerners and the fleet of Kantrok. Olvar has made contact with the flagship commanded by Loran Devine, and he jumps over with some of his men as he fights Loran. Rosargo and his men are further back to make sure that none of the enemy ships circle around them. Rosargo and his men are further back, making sure none of the enemy ships circle around them, and he's taken anyone trying down with ease. Olvar gets disarmed by Loran, and as he's about to cut him down when the ship takes a hit from a wave, which makes them both drop to the deck. Olvar takes his chance to grab some rope and pull Loran overboard. Rosargo then sees his father hanging from his side of the ship. Standing above his father is Olvar, who then takes a heavy crate and binds the rope. Loran hangs from around it before pushing it into the water, sending Loran to the bottom of the sea. Rosargo filled with anger, and his roar could be heard throughout the whole sea battle. Olvar takes over the flagship and turns it right towards Rosargo's part of the fleet. He would not back down and instead commanded all his ships to sail towards the flagship head on. A few hours later, and Jane of Drakkar comes back to Andor.
We recognize you for what you've done for our people since our arrival, and you've always been the first to our aid. But if you are here to take his place as Chief of Drakkar without him here to take your challenge, we'll demand that you complete a challenge of our choosing.
I accept these terms.
The mounted creatures tend to leave us be as long as we stay away from the mountains. However, the fields and the jungles are not safe for hunting nor farming with these dragons about. Kill the beast and prove your worth as our chief.
Consider it done.
Andor gets released from his chains and heads straight into the jungle outside the gates. Rosargo's ship crashes onto the flagship, with Olvar still on it. He grabs some rope from the side of the ship and leaps onto it. He spots Olvar on the other side of the ship, who knows very well who Rosargo is, and he can already feel the fear sinking in. Rosargo cuts his way through any of the men with his naginata. Olvar looks for anything to give him an advantage as he attempts to climb the mast in hopes of weakening him. Once he made it up, He could not see Rosargo anywhere, climbing up between the sails, back and forth. He then saw Rosargo coming down from beneath the deck with a large axe in his hand. In panic, Olvar tried to shoot arrows at him, but his men had shields covering him. He then jumps onto the ropes, trying to climb down, but Rosargo's men starts to aid him with the cutting. The mast comes down quickly, and Olvar falls with it to the ocean. Rosargo takes his men, and then goes to the next ship in the shattering fleet of the Northerners. In the northern jungle outside of Dakar stands Andur, staring into the darkness between the trees. He listens to the silence of the wilderness until a few twigs break behind him. He's being hunted. Andur runs as quickly as he can, for the beast jumps up from behind some bushes. Dodging rocks and logs, he keeps changing directions not to let the beast gain momentum on him. He's on the last stretch as he spots daylight and the fields outside of Dakar, but it's long and he'll have to be fast. The beast is starting to get close and almost has him in its jaws. Andur suddenly leaps onto the field as the beast trips on some rope stretched between some trees earlier. He quickly pulls out his blade to stab it straight through the head of the fallen creature. The people come up, walking to the gates to greet him, dragging the beast behind him.
Will this suffice?
The people begin to cheer for him one after the other, giving him the title of the Dragon King of Dakar. They all bend the knee as he walks into his new kingdom and close the gates behind him. A month later, the remains of a broken fleet arrive back outside of Dakar. Warriors seem to be in a worse state than their ships, are carried off. In the back is Olvar, who's taken to a bed right away. As he weakly opens his eyes, a silhouette of a familiar man appears in front of him.
This brings me back to our first meeting.
What the fuck are you doing here?
Stopping you from continuing to harm yourself and your people.
You've got no power here. Guards! Bring this asshole out of my sight.
The guards do not move, and Andur just shakes his head. Olvar looks confused around.
Now I lead Dakar, and I need to know if you're going to be a problem. For our people, I hope not.
They would never follow you over one of their own.
They know I've always had their best intent in mind, and I can't watch you bring them more pain.
Your family did this to us.
Jarun did, and now you're continuing it.
So what do you plan to do with me now?
Once you've healed your wounds, we will talk about what will happen to you. But first I have to make sure that they don't come for us. Rosargo is on his way here to speak for the king.
Are you mad? He will just come and destroy us once and for all.
Had we let you continue your revenge, but no more.
I once hoped that you would be our savior. I once did. But no more.
Andur stops at the doors as he was leaving.
Rest now and regain your strength. A new chapter in our lives is about to begin, my old friend.
The guards nod, and Olvar is left weakly punching his bed, laying down in pain. Outside the walls in the fields of Dakar, ride Andur and his guards to meet Rosargo and his men. There, Andur would sign the contract to never leave his kingdom, and to never interfere with the South or to rise an army against them. Olvar was also to be punished for his actions, but Andur would not give him up to them, something Rosargo would have to agree on in the end. Instead of jailing or harming Olvar, they decided instead banish him and send him out to sea with whoever was willing to follow him. Andur made sure to watch him as they disappeared over the horizon. Olvar would send a salute to Andur before he was gone, and Andur goes back to his new throne in Dakar, where he would continue to create legends and myths as he ruled the people over the northern Mistlands. Long after the fall of Cantrock, and the starting of the Shattered Crown War, where he would once again reunite with his son, Alastair Highwind, Helda would disappear, traveling the world after Olvar after Alastair became older. Once the Shattered Crown War was over, Andur was approached by what would be the Council of Londra. This would lead Dakar from a kingdom to a state of Londra, also bringing back news of his son who died in Kalo. However, it was not the end. Andur would find a new wife in Dakar, and father 3 more children, continuing the Highwind family. He would often tell his children the tale of
Is how
he
I became the Dragon King.